I read a book a couple of years ago I recommend to people all the time called The Big Sort, S-O-R-T, by Bill Bishop, who is a journalist and, as it happens, a pretty progressive Democrat from Austin, Texas. And what provoked him to write this book was his neighborhood in Austin lost his only Republican neighbor. And he loved this guy. And he talked about how their kids played together and they took walks together and how much he learned from their arguments because they didn't see everything the same way, and how much it meant to him to know there was somebody that he liked and respected and cared for, that he could actually have an honest discussion where neither one of them would be completely predictable. But he said, I was the only one of our neighbors who was nice to him. Now, in their neighborhood, in the 2004 presidential election, Senator Kerry defeated President Bush 3-1. So the Republican guy moves out and he moves into another neighborhood in Austin, Texas, where President Bush defeated Senator Kerry 4-1. And Bishop just said, you know, both our neighborhoods were poorer for that. He pointed out that in 1976, when Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford had a razor-thin election, by the way, which ultimately culminated in a lifetime friendship between the two of them until President Ford passed away. But anyway, in that election, a 1% election, only 20% of America's counties voted for one or the other of them by 20% or more, which meant that in 1976, you could go into any coffee shop or hair salon or barber shop or bowling alley and have a conversation with people who didn't necessarily disagree with you about what was going on in America. By 2004, when President Bush won the closest re-election margin of any re-elected president since Woodrow Wilson in 1916, 48% of our counties voted for one or the other of them by more than 20%. That much movement. So he said, you know, America's making real progress. This Bishop guy's sharp. You'd like this. He says, we're not as racist as we used to be. We're not as sexist as we used to be. We're not as homophobic as we used to be. The only bigotry we have left is we just don't want to be around anybody who disagrees with us.